Tuesday night, and so you know what that means. It is time. So I'm going to give us just a moment to populate the space. I hope that you had an amazing day. I hope that you're relaxed and comfortable. I'm doing a Facebook Live tonight, live from Margot and Max's, which is Jajana's space. So, hey Monique, how are you? How you doing, sis? Say hey to you. So if you have not been to this delicious space and you have a retail sweet tooth, you need to get over here. I'm here in the Metro Detroit area, so for those who are tuning in, perhaps out of state, you need to come to Detroit. And while you're here in Detroit, hey Alex, while you're here in the Detroit metro area, you don't have to worry about going to Cass Tech. It's nothing. You have to worry about stopping at that space. But you definitely need to check out this wonderful and delicious space, Margot and Max's. It has been named one of the best resale shops in the area. It is fantastic. I am sitting in a room full of wonderful shoes, clothing. I have my eye on something, and so I'm leaving out of here with a hot leather jacket. I see some brooches too, so you may see some things. They've got brooches and things and purses, and so as an empath, it can sometimes be difficult being around items that have been pre-owned, because you can definitely feel the energy coming off of them in the story behind those items. However, this place is absolutely delicious and it is very well taken care of. Alex, the hatred. There is no hate in my heart. We just understand what's superior and what's not. South of Lather, go Chargers. In any case, we have an amazing show. Hey Drew. So please shout out as you come onto the timeline where you're from. I want to shout you out and thank you for joining us. The lovely Ebony Roberts is coming on this evening. She is our guest. I don't see her yet, but she's going to be our guest this evening. She is a poet, activist, advocate for prisoners and their families. She has done work in psychology and education and is an author of an upcoming book that you will definitely need to check out. Ebony grew up in the golden era of hip hop. She is a Detroiter. Yay! Ebony is here. Ebony is now residing in Los Angeles, raising her son, but she has so much insight into the most, I believe the only power that there really is, and that power is love. And not in a romantic or sort of like hokey sense, but she really uses the power of love to heal, transform, help the lives of countless thousands of people. So Ebony's going to talk to us about that. So Ebony, let me pull you in, dear. Okay. All right, Ebony, check on your feed. There should be a way to get you added in to our live. Hey, Shalelle, my love. I want to make sure we get you in here. I'm going to make sure my volumes are good. All right. Yeah, it should be right there on your phone as you're watching. There should be a little icon of a person and a person, and you can ask to join. But I am working on adding you. So we want to invite you in here. Okay, you're on your computer. So you should still see an option on your phone. Yeah, if you can grab your phone, that will be a little bit better for us if you can grab your phone. Because what I'm attempting to do, you should see it on your phone. There's like a little person and a person. There's like a box. Hey, Maggie. How are you? Yeah, there should be an option on your phone. Even your computer, but it's definitely on your phone where you can click the option to join the broadcast. All right. All right. Hey, Darren. All right, Ebony. Let us know when you get your phone. So in the interim, I can talk to you all about a few things really quickly. Okay. Yeah, so I can talk to you guys about a few things. So sorry for the technical difficulties. So yeah, so a few things are coming up for the Visionary Empath. So we are into, yay! There's Ebony. All right, stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared to be wowed and amazed.
Hey.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Let me get my headphones. I had it in my computer.
Okay.
You are fine.
You are fine. Ladies and gentlemen, yes.
She is here.
She is here.
Girl, I am not
fabulous.
I'm not tech savvy, so I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I walk through this and stumble through this
every week
as a personal challenge.
Yes.
To not be perfect, but authentic.
Yeah.
And do everything that scares me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
amen.
Thank you all.
You know, we have
folks
that tune in every
week.
Awesome.
Yes.
Let me blunder.
That is awesome.
So shout out to everybody who comes out every week. So Ebony, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was a surprise, but it's such an honor because I know you've been doing this work for so long, and you've taught me so much about empaths and helping me recognize myself as an empath. So thank you for having this platform and for helping us all understand, this empathetic part of our lives, because it's such a huge part of who we are. And, and I'm raising an empath. My son is a huge empath.
Who was an empath. I love. If you all don't follow Ebony, you definitely should follow her, because she gives great narrative of raising her son and the things that he says and his observations. He's so keenly aware.
Mm-hmm.
And in his observations, ladies and gentlemen, he always seems to pick up the bigger sentiment. There's something always at play, and he's always really, really intuitive and perceptive at such a tender age.
Yeah, he's only 7.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see it in action. There was a story I wanted to share, and if I can share it now.
Yes, please.
We were watching, we were having movie night, and we were watching The Karate Kid, the one with Jaden Smith.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the movie, Jaden gets into a fight with some kids in his new neighborhood. And my son just literally starts crying, bawling at the scene because he's watching Jaden get beat up. Mm-hmm. And I looked and I'm like, is everything okay? And yes. And we had to turn the movie off. I'm like, baby, it's okay. It's just a movie. And he was so impacted by seeing Jaden in the movie get beat up that he just was crying and could not watch it.
Yeah,
he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't watch it. So that was like another sure sign to me that he was an empath, because I don't know many. And I tried to convince him it was just acting. And
and that is that's a trait right there. Yep, that's a huge indicator. When we see violence, there's a difficulty in watching horror films.
Right.
News can be debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be very debilitating. So I would love to. So I want to jump right in because I have so many questions for you.
Okay.
So for those of you all who are tuning in, this is something that you need to watch, and because this is really also passion for me, because I do believe that there is a correlation between mysticism and social justice and social activism, and so you really run that intersection. You run it very well. So please, people, tag your friends. So I see Monique is on, Tia's on, Joy, Maggie. If you guys can tag your friends, Darren, Joy, Lakeisha, please tag a friend, bring them into this conversation. J Love, great. I'm glad you're watching because she's a love gangster. You know, racism, bigotry, all of those things really just rub her the wrong way. And you're really at the forefront in a lot of the work that you do. So if you could just speak to how being an empath has helped you in your work.
I think being an empath has made me be more compassionate in the work that I do. Being from Detroit and being immediately involved in community justice work, social justice work at a very young age. Some people come to the work because they have a personal connection sometimes to that particular work. But for me, it was just like, where can I get involved? Where can I jump in? Where can I be a part? Where can I be of help? And so being an empath just made me really sensitive to issues that I didn't have personal connection to. So I started working with prisons and people who were impacted by incarceration almost 20 years ago. And although I had family members, distant cousins who had been incarcerated, I didn't have anyone very close to me. But I knew that the work was important work, and I just threw my whole heart into it. And that's one of the causes that I got really, really passionate about and have been doing for a number of years. And so being able to be a part of that work as an empath allowed me to really connect with the men and women who are incarcerated and understand their stories, and understand that they are more than a prison number, that they are more than whatever crime they committed, that they have their own stories, and that their stories are so powerful and so complex. And sometimes because they have committed a crime, they're put in a box and they're considered to be bad or evil. And so being able to be understanding of their stories and what led them, the path that led them to be incarcerated. And then also just being able to understand their families, because I, again, didn't have personal experience having to go visit someone in prison, having to live without a loved one at that time. I was just able to really be close to the people. I took phone calls and listened as an empath. I was a secretary of an organization at the time. And I was a secretary. And so I sent letters. I did all of the correspondence. And I was also the person who answered the phone and returned phone calls. And I would sometimes sit on the phone, for 20, 30 minutes listening to a mother or a wife tell me about their son, their story about, how they got incarcerated, how they missed them, the financial struggles that they've had. And so, I just listened and I offered, my encouragement, my love, and tried to do whatever I could to help ease whatever, struggle that they had. And so we at that time, bus visits to prisons across the state, and I helped to coordinate that and to make it possible for families to go see their loved ones, sometimes for the first time ever since they had been locked up. And then, I orchestrated a number of other initiatives, but I think it's just my I've always called it kind of like a bleeding heart, or wear my heart on my sleeve, or
No.
there's different.
Welcome to it. Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it.
All of those things. But yeah, I just, my heart is in it, and I've been misunderstood,
Of course,
and judged because of my bleeding heart, especially because of the men and women that are incarcerated and the stigma that's attached to them. Mm-hmm. And part of my story and the book that I wrote,
mm-hmm.
I ended up corresponding with a man in prison, and we fell in love. And, obviously there was lots of judgment because I fell in love with a man in prison, and he was incarcerated for murder, which is, the worst crime, one of the worst crimes you can commit. And
let's
so
talk about that for a second, because there's so many layers to that. And I think, as an outsider looking in and witnessing what unfolded between the two of you, several things happened. Love happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that aided in the healing and transformation and rebirth of
mm-hmm.
a man. And so mm-hmm. you all do not know who we're talking about. We're talking about Shaka Senghor. So because we have people from different parts of the country tuning in, so they may not know, have context for this. And so he wrote an awesome book, Righting My Wrongs, and he's been on Oprah, and I believe he's been at Agape Ministry out in California. So not only from the outside looking in did I see you all truly be in love, the love was also a ministry. It was one of working to mm-hmm. those who have been stigmatized, cast away, mm-hmm. Forgotten, and then to what I like to call, or as I've seen in the lexicon moving around, conscious uncoupling, where mm-hmm. okay, so now it's no longer maybe a good fit for us to be together as a couple.
Right.
However, we have a child,
mm-hmm.
and we also have this work, right?
Right.
It's still you didn't leave the work just because the relationship is no longer there.
Right.
So then, how do we amicably dissolve or collapse our romantic relationship, but still work in collaboration and love? And that mm-hmm. is the beautiful piece that I see your empathic heart being able to transcend. You've moved into a space of unconditional love.
Right. Well, I like to say that, love is unconditional. So sometimes putting that at the front of it, I question whether it really is love if we have to put that at the front of it, because I don't know the scripture well, but the scripture that says love is the scripture.
Love,
what does it
patient,
say?
Love is
patient, love is kind. Yes,
it's not proud. Girl, get started.
Right? I should know that by heart. But I have begun to question this idea that there is such a thing as unconditional love, because God is love and God loves us unconditionally. So if we're going to use the word love and love the way that God loves us, there is no other love. There is no unconditional versus conditional. And I mean, we're human, so obviously we all make mistakes in love, and we do some things that hurt each other. And we sometimes are upset and blame love, but it's humans that make the mistakes, But yeah, I don't know that it's unconditional love. I think it's love, the way that love is supposed to be, and that's the way that I try to look at it. And that's why I say love is our superpower, because I honestly do mm-hmm. believe that when we love the way that God loves us, mm-hmm. it is truly so powerful. And all the things that we attribute to God and we attribute to and to spirit are all aspects that we hold. Mm-hmm. We're creators. We can build up. Love can heal. Love can build. Love can reform. Love can, all of those things. But we have to sometimes look past the human frailty or the insecurities that we bring, the baggage we bring, and see through the other person's insecurities and baggage. And that's what I did with Shaka. He and I both, I was by far, I was not perfect. I brought my own baggage to our relationship. And so we were healing each other.
Yeah. So let's unpack that. That. I think that when we think about relationships, we have a very romantic notion or ideology of what love is. So we
Right.
get romanticized with the movies, like, okay, so there's going to be this grand gesture for him to demonstrate his love, and it's going to be these flowers, and we're going to hear this really soft string-like instrument, and these angelic cherubims singing, and it's not that. It's not that. Well, it's not always that. It can be that. So let's unpack what we bring to the relationship. And I also love that you said you too brought baggage to the relationship, because we may look at it as sort of lifestyle. Well, he was the one that was incarcerated. No,
right.
We can be incarcerated too, just without bars. So let's unpack maybe some of the issues that arose, if you feel comfortable, that arose when you meet your other person.
Right. Yeah. So I think we all bring baggage from our childhood. You know, I don't know one person who's had, you know, a perfect childhood. And so I brought tons of baggage, feelings of unworthiness, feelings of worthless, you know, just feelings of unworthiness, all kinds of fears of being abandoned and rejected. I was raised in a household with an alcoholic father who died when I was 12. And so I sought out attention and love from others, as many young people do at that age. And so when I finally met Shaka, I was healing from a lot of the trauma from my childhood and those feelings of not being enough for someone to stay. And a lot of women who are involved in relationships with men in prison are believed to be, you know, insecure and have low self-esteem. And I think, I mean, some of that may be true, but I think that we all have insecurities. You know, we're all struggling with loving ourselves, especially as women, because we're beat up so much by society.
And by ourselves.
And by ourselves, right. But that comes from society, though. I mean, we beat up on ourselves, but it comes from society. We don't begin that way, right? Yeah. So basically I was at a point in my life where I had been dating men who had not loved me, and who had I didn't feel worthy. And so immediately that was something that Shaka did. And so, you know, obviously a man in prison, he's locked up, you know, the what people say is, well, he can't go nowhere. And so of course he's going to, you know, shower you with all these beautiful words and be faithful on all these things. But I never got caught up in that. And I know that may be true. I don't believe that my experience is universal by any means. But I do know that, you know, as an empath, I read vibes, right? And so even through letters, I could read his vibe. And, you know, being part of an organization, I think I was a part of the organization by then for like 4 years. Yeah. And so I had read countless letters from guys in prison. And I read the letters that, you know, were really kind of, you know, trying to be slick, trying to hook up, or trying to see if I was open to corresponding on an intimate or personal level. And I always ignored those letters. And so with Shaka, I picked up immediately on his spirit, and that is genuinely how we connected. It was spiritual. He could, I mean, he's a beautiful writer as well, and me being, you know,
a poet,
someone who's a poet and a writer, and you know, I'm just, so that was an immediate attraction. But yeah, it was the writing that allowed me to see through to the spirit of the man. And we just started opening up, and eventually, you know, as I said, we fell in love. But I read his vibe early on, and I didn't feel like he was using me. And it allowed me to feel comfortable enough to open up to him and share aspects of my story, that some of it that I had never told anyone before. I felt so comfortable sharing those things with him because his story was so tragic. And it was like, oh my God, he's opening up to me with these really tragic stories about his childhood. It made me feel free to do the same, because you're afraid to be judged, you know, and him coming from the experiences that he had, I didn't have that fear of being judged. And it allowed me to just really open up for the first time in my life, to just open up and really kind of bare my soul. And it was the first time that ever happened, and the most beautiful experiences I've had to date in terms of just the love. And initially it started out as just friends. And then I started to realize that there was something more there.
Mm-hmm. 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 And the way you're, you know, as I'm listening to it and the way it's being sequenced out, this felt very ordained in a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I believe so.
You having the empathic heart and spirit that you have, loved him, but also he was able to love you, because as the empath, yes, we bleed and we love people, but it's also very hard to have people in our proximity because we feel so deeply.
Right.
So
right.
it's like this push-pull with people like, oh, I love people, but I can't people. So intimate relationships become very difficult because, again, the absorption of energy or spirit, you know, it can become very difficult to date because it's like, I love or I don't. It's not like this in between. We're not very gray area. It's like love is kind of what we do. Yes. So be ready for it. And it just sounds like there was this receptivity on his end too, to express and to love you. And so, yeah, you all both had this amazing opportunity of healing one another in this way. And I don't know that, you know, in another context, it would have happened.
I don't think so.
Yeah, an empath had, it had to be a special set of circumstances, you know, shaped up. And so I hear a lot from empaths that because love is so powerful. It can be an energy that can almost collapse you. It can be overwhelming. It's intoxicating. You know, all of those things. How do you, or how did you, you know, especially when you're at a distance, you don't have, when arguments or tension spaces come up, you don't have the opportunity to look, you know, in the eye.
Right.
And how do we dissolve, you know, the conflicts that you know, come up. How did that work? And yeah, if you can, you know, share with our audience, you know, how do you remove tension, you know, in an empathic way? How do empaths deal with tension? Conflict.
Well, but before I answer that, your first question, I don't like conflict, as you know. Empaths, I don't like conflict.
We don't do it.
I am a true empath. I bottle it up. I keep it in. I try to avoid the conflict. And I now realize, because that's part of the reason why our relationship didn't work, is because I was not honoring my truth, and I was not speaking up when I should have, when things were bothering me. And so I built up a lot of resentment. And resentment is like poison to a relationship. And so,
empath or not.
Yes. And so it started to eat away. This is after he came home. So this is, you know, so it just started to eat away at our relationship over time. But while he was in prison, so for the first 2 months, when we sort of, you know, you started developing feelings for each other, you know, we started to see each other on a weekly basis. He was close enough for me to come visit him. And so we were in the honeymoon phase, so we didn't really have arguments at the time. But then he got moved up north to northern Michigan and was like an 8-hour drive away. And so seeing each other in person was not easy, so I didn't get the chance to see him in person. So we only had letters and phone calls. And so sometimes it would take weeks for us to get through an argument. And we would be back and forth in letters. You know, I'm typing away, he's typing away, and we're sharing, you know, our opinion and trying to make our case, and whatever the case may be. And then we would have a weekly phone call, because phone calls were so expensive at the time. So we would have a weekly phone call, and we could try to get as much as we could in that 15 minutes that we had on the phone. And then the rest of it was in letters. And so it would sometimes take a few weeks. But I think when in those situations, because it's so intense and you miss each other, you just try to treasure the time that you have with the person. That arguments, you know, are really small in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, the arguments we have were relatively minor. And then because we really cherished the times that we did have together, it ended up, you know, being resolved relatively quickly. But it was hard because sometimes when you want to squash something, the other person then sends another letter and then it brings it all back up again. And it's like, oh God, I thought we were done with that. And now he said something that I got to respond to. And then you go back and forth instead of being able to just deal with it and move on in one conversation.
So it goes back to love is patient, love is kind.
Yes, yes.
Love is long suffering.
Yes, long suffering. For sure.
Yeah. It sounds like, not even just in your relationship, but I love that your relationship serves as just this beautiful demonstration of what's required of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a requirement.
Yes.
You know, of us.
Right. Love is, there was some guru, I don't even know the person's name, who wrote that love really isn't about us. It's about the other person. It's about service. Right. Mm-hmm. And I took that, now I didn't know that at the time. I didn't see love that way, but again, because of this bleeding heart that I have, mm-hmm. I took that, and that's exactly what I did. So, you know, in the book that I wrote, I talk about, you know, the things that I did to help prepare Shaka for his release. And one of the things that I did was we started a publishing company. We published his first book. And I was determined to make sure that he came home with something because I knew he would have the scarlet letter on him because of his felony and because of the nature of the crime he committed. And so I knew that if he had his own business, he could come home and he could make his own way, that he wouldn't be able, no one would be able to tell him that, you know, no, we're not going to hire you because of your felony or because you're a murderer or, you know, whatever other reasons, because you're Black, because you're, you know, whatever.
Own power of a praying woman. That's foresight.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
So, yeah. Yes. So I started this publishing company. He was the brains behind it. This was his dream. And I did all the work behind it. And that sometimes was overwhelming, you know, because I was very active in the community at the time. I didn't have a child. He was my sole focus really at the time, but it was overwhelming because I loved so hard. And because I wanted so much for him to have his dream when he came home. And that often was the source of the tension in our relationship because he was so, he was determined to come home and not go back to prison. You know, the recidivism rate is around 70%. And he was determined not to come back to prison. And so he was so focused on making this happen, making this book happen before he came home, because he too wanted to make sure that he had some money when he came home. And so if I wasn't doing something exactly when he asked me to do it, or he would ask me to do something, and when we would talk and he'd ask me if I did it and I hadn't done it, oh my God. So that turned into a lot of tension for us. And it made me feel super, super guilty because even though I had a full life, it made me feel guilty because I wanted to please him. I knew how important this was for him and to us as a couple. And so I carried a lot of weight to try to make this dream for him come true. Yeah. And it was not a healthy balance because he really couldn't do anything. So all the weight fell on me. And I struggled with that, especially because I wanted so much to try to make this work for him.
Yeah. And I think that's very atypical of an empath, is that, especially when it comes to the object of your affection, of your love, you will create, not just bring heaven to earth, you will create a heaven and earth for the person that you love. And while I do not recommend that you go out and create a heaven to earth, full disclosure,
right?
Because you're human, and there's fragility that goes in that, and God does it so much better. So just kind of take some of your burdens off. But that doesn't negate the desire, to want to do that. So can you walk us through some processes or some steps that you have learned or would recommend because the empath does have a tendency to love very hard and becomes very myopic in focus. Can you help us with some things that you've discovered and some tools so that, you know, you don't collapse? Because I'm sure anxiety, depression, panic attacks, we're prone to it than some others. So if you could say, more about that, some tools.
I think it's so important to create boundaries. And, you know, for me, that has been one of the hardest things in life is to create boundaries. Yeah. And to make sure that I choose me first. And if it works for me, and it can work for you, then it's a win-win.
Ooh,
but if it doesn't,
so that we make sure, because people will get this on the replay.
Right.
Who are we choosing first?
We choose ourselves first. If you know, you choose you, and if it works for you and it works for them, that's a win-win. But if it only works for the other person, then where are you in that picture, and how can you still? And it's not in a selfish way at all. You know, it's not about what can I get out of it. But if you're choosing, you know, someone else over
Girl, you got folks over here screaming. I see all these exclamation points. Yes, for the win-win. Come on. Yes. Thank you, Shatan. Yes,
thank you. Yes.
She look, Reverend, look, they're good Reverend Roberts. Right, Doctor. Reverend Doctor Roberts is giving us a word on this evening. Hallelujah.
Yes. But that's really it. I mean, for me, that's been it. Especially in love relationships, because we love so hard and we want to make the other person happy and we want them to return that love. So it's this sometimes unhealthy, you know, codependency. And so, just making sure that if you are going to enter into anything, that you are getting something out of it. And if it doesn't work for you, be okay with saying no. And gosh, man, that's actually, to be honest, sis, that's a lesson that I'm not gonna say I just learned it 2 years ago, but it's a lesson that finally settled in my soul. It was something that took some rock bottom, rock bottom emotions. I had to go to therapy, like it was not easy.
This is not lightweight.
It's not easy.
This is, I mean, you know, we see things and pass around on Facebook to tell us love ourselves, you know, the little infographics.
Yeah.
And we're like, yes, you know, we have that second of like, yes, you know.
Right.
But putting it into practice. Because I'm sure intellectually, you're a smart cookie. Intellectually, you got it. But on that soul level, when it comes between making that choice and being in your bed all by yourself at night, but you got to live with that choice that you made. Right. Because you put your foot down. Or not having the text and the phone calls and all those things that, you know, that we want and we love to have. None of those things are bad. But when you put your foot down, sometimes it can leave you in a solitary space because you put your foot down. And the other people in your life, especially the person who's used to you saying yes, is not gonna like it. Oh yeah, when you start doing things that make you happy,
it's not gonna make the other persons in your life happy. But it's something you have to do and not feel guilted. And I don't know if it's my 40s. I don't know what it is, but something happened. It was like
prime time though, baby.
Yes.
I'm chasing you. I'm already planning my 40th for next year. I'm inviting exactly 40 people in a disclosure form because no cell phones, baby, it's going down. But
I like that. 40 people.
Yes,
I like that.
40 people in a disclosor form and no cell phones because it's grown.
It's really, about to go down.
Yeah, it's about to go down. It's real.
I love it. I love it. I
do feel like there's a shift that happens in a woman as she gets closer, you know, to her 40s. I call it, she takes her fuckatols and she ups her dosages of it to where it's kind of like, these are non-negotiables. And I just don't feel bad about it. I don't feel sad about it.
No. It's so liberating.
Isn't it?
And I did not know, like you say, you read these memes and, you know, you read, you know, these think pieces. And when you finally get there, it is so liberating in a way that I didn't even know I was missing. You know what I mean? But like I said, once I got it in my soul, there was no question. There was no question. It wasn't kind of like, should I not? I was like, no. No, I can't.
Sentence. I love how you said it. It was like a complete sentence. No. And that's enough for me.
Yeah. And have to be okay with that. And that includes family, friends, even my child, you know, because he's, whew.
Oh, yeah. You all have really got to check out the Chronicles. Please follow Ebony on her page because I am so here for it. I would love to see a Sekou children's book where you put his stories together, beautifully illustrated. Because, first of all, her son, to look in his eyes, like he knows how, I'm sure he knows how to do that thing. He can do like a Jedi mind trick on you because these eyes that he had, they're so beautiful. And I'm like, I bet he does Jedi mind tricks on his parents.
Girl, he is charming. He is so charming. He is so charming. But yes, we actually have talked about writing several books together. So I'm so excited now that I'm done with all the back, you know, the stuff behind the scenes with my book, and I can focus on him. I do want to write. And I hadn't thought about writing a book about him being an empath. But
that
I think
would be
I might.
So helpful. I really think that'd be helpful, especially parents who are raising empathic children. I don't see Reese on my timeline, but I do have some women that I've been interviewing and having conversations with, and they have empathic children. And I am working on, so yes, people, I'm working on some workshops for empathic children, but what about parents of empaths? And so, if you haven't done so already, you and everyone out there, please check out Dr. Judith Orloff's book, The Empath Survival Guide. She does have a chapter dedicated to parents of empathic children.
Yeah. I will definitely check that out. Yeah, so he is excited about writing and reading, and so it just seemed a natural progression for him and I to co-author a book. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm present. I'm present for that. So as soon as it's done, I would love to have you and Sekou on the Visionary as father, as mother and son, as mother and son duo of this book, because I do feel like there are parents who think that their children are just, well, my son or my daughter, they're just sensitive, and it's a little more than sensitive. Because this gift has been with us our entire lives. It's not like we just wake up, oh, hey, wake up, hey, I'm an empath. I've had women share with me that when they were younger, they would see spirits. When they were younger, they would say things to their parents, and their parents are like, you're 7, you're speaking like Yoda. Like, you're like, how did you... I didn't say this. How did you feel this? Some felt death coming. So there's a lot of ways that it has shown up and it's expressed itself in childhood. So I think that you're right on. You have your finger, per usual, right on the pulse. Of a very, very, very necessary conversation. And Raquel says it will be a very powerful book. We have no doubt it will be a very powerful book. So Evan, tell us about your book, because we only have a few moments left, but tell us about your book.
So I wrote it's a memoir, and I wrote about my story and kind of what led me to fall in love with a man in prison, some of my life experiences that led me to make that choice. Because, you know, we don't just end up there out of, you know, nothing is coincidence, right?
No.
So there were things in my journey that led me there. So I write about that. And then I spent a good portion of the book writing about how we fell in love, the challenges of being in love with a man in prison, both that is, you know, caused by the state and all of its rules and policies and the tricks and games that they play, but also just within our relationships, some of the challenges. And then also the challenges once he came home. So we were together for 4 years before he came home, and then 4 years after he came home. And other books that have been written about women in relationships with men in prison don't talk about what happens when they come home. And unfortunately, there's a lot of unspoken trauma that men and women who are coming home have. They and other people in their lives want them to just forget about it because they're home. You know, you're home now. But whatever trauma they brought to prison, and many of them have tons of trauma that brought them to prison, there is a whole set of trauma that they experience at the hands of guards, at the hands of other inmates, being, forgotten by family, many of them, just being kind of cast away. And so they come home with all these invisible scars. And so I talk a little bit about the challenges that we had after he came home and how those invisible scars impacted our relationship and then the end of our relationship. So I'm really excited about the book and excited for people to hear more about my story and how. And you'll see, just having this conversation has made me realize that you'll see points in the story where you'll really be able to see the empath in me and how, how that showed up throughout our relationship. So yeah, it comes out in July. So I'm excited.
I'm excited. Oh goodness. So we'll definitely have to have you back as it comes. Okay. So I think this is a great teaser. It's coming, everybody. Yes. So please, ladies and gentlemen on the feed, please make sure that you are tagging a friend, pull somebody into the conversation, because this is not lightweight stuff. This is real and very necessary work that she has done. The relationship, I think, is a beautiful ministry to pull us into a deeper awareness of love and also give empaths more context about your nature, because it is one of very, very, very true love. And had he not had that love, I don't know that he would be the man that he is today without that love, or you the woman that you are today, because it pushed you into putting some boundaries down, to using your voice, to being a guardian and protector. You were already hyper vigilant anyway as an activist, but it really seems like it shaped your mission and solidified it in a lot of ways. And you took on an area that many people do not, let's just be honest, they do not want to be bothered with. This is a part of society where they're casted away. Like you said, family even forgets about them at times.
Right.
So these are the unsavories. We do not necessarily want to connect with them, but they are human beings. They have paid their time, their dues. The artwork that I've seen, so shout out to LaShawn Phoenix. She's done work with the prison systems, with the artwork that has come out.
Oh my God. The talent in prison. Yes. Oh my God. The talent in prison is just mind blowing.
And it's like, what happened? Whether it be the school system that has failed, familial systems that have failed, you have all this brilliance that has gone unseen, untapped, unacknowledged, unwitnessed. And it breaks her. For me as an empath, it makes me emotional.
It breaks my heart.
Love you. Because had you been loved, I believe had you been loved properly, then we would see your brilliance. But we know everything happens for a reason. God has a way. We may not understand it, but everything truly does, happen for a reason. So we would love to have you back on in July when the book is done. If you read
of course, I'd love to.
For us, and of course, we'll drop a link so that people can purchase your book.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, sis.
Yes, of course. We're here for you. And then also, where can we find you? Because I know you're on Instagram and you're here on Facebook. So tell us all the wonderful places that we can find you.
So I'm on Instagram at Love Is Our Superpower, on Facebook, also under my name, Ebony Roberts. And I'm trying to do more. It's crazy because, I had spent so many years investing in another person's dream that I've been slow to build my own. So I'm getting there. So yes, those are. Yeah. I'm technically on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter. I need to be on Twitter, but yeah, I'm in those two places mostly.
Yes. So, I'm here for you, champion. Love you, sis. I love all the work that you
Thank you so much.
Done, loving us through ourselves and just being such a beautiful example of what love in action looks like. And that's what I see when I see you, when I see your interaction with your son. It's just really, really awe-inspiring to me. So, thank you for agreeing to be on. So, ladies and gents, please make sure that you should send this video out. tag a friend in this feed. We also, upcoming Saturday is our Visionary Empath workshop happening at Bamboo. We do have, yes. So not only do we have a massage therapist that will be on site, we have essential oils for you to get grounded and centered. My papa is going to lead us in a grounding meditation. There's some giveaways that are going to be present, so you can either get a Reiki session, a deep dive into your empathic gift, intuitive marketing done by yours truly. So you really want to be here, and some other announcements. So make sure that you are there. And I'm feeling real generous. I might even just give a ticket away to somebody. So in order to register for that ticket giveaway, you got to share this with 3 people. Make sure that you're signed up for our newsletter, and you comment in our book, and I will give a ticket away.
Awesome.
So, yes.
That's awesome.
So I'm looking.
Well, that's exciting. I hate that I'm gonna miss it. I miss so much stuff in Detroit. I'm like, I love being in LA.
Look, I can come to LA,
but
so just let me know. You want to do a Visionary Input? Look, you want to do it? We can do it. Yes, we can do. Let's talk about that. Let's do it.
Let's talk about that. That would be awesome.
In LA.
Yep.
Or,
let's do that. Let's try to do that in this year. If we can make that happen this year, that would be awesome.
I know that we can, because all things are possible.
Yeah.
But I think so why don't we? Yeah, so offline we'll talk more about what that looks like.
Okay.
I know that there are plenty of spaces. I feel that would be welcoming to that. And so I was part of a portal project.
Okay.
So I've got folks out in LA, so we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can make that happen. But
okay,
I am always just so happy to be in your presence, to hear your voice and your wisdom. So thank you for everything.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
No.
You give us life.
You know what? I'm going to, you know what? I'm in LA now, so I'm still growing roots here, but I swear the things you're doing with the girls and with this is just so powerful. And I wish we had done more while I was still in the city. So next time I come back home, I want to make sure that we connect. I would love to come talk to the girls, and I would love to see how else I can get involved.
Absolutely. Look, we can start a chapter in LA. I mean, yo soy bilingüe, podemos hacerlo en español también, so we can do that. Look, we can get yes. So yes. I feel like when you build infrastructure in Detroit, they say you could, if you're from New York, you can make no, baby. If you from Detroit,
yes.
Because there isn't any, like, when you do your thing in Detroit, you got to set up the whole infrastructure. You got to set up the promotions, the marketing, the finance, the whole container. For it. It's not like it's just something you can plug into. So if you make it here,
you can make it anywhere.
That is the truth.
Okay, well, let's definitely talk, because I definitely want to see what I can do. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
and vice versa, sis. So we want to make sure as soon as your book drops that we get books sold. And so I'll gift someone with a book. So as soon as it's done, send me the link. I'll purchase a book. I will gift somebody, a lucky participant in our Visionary Empath community will receive her book once it drops.
Yes. Well, it's not available for pre-order yet, but once it is, I will let you know.
Yes. And then I'll make sure that somebody receives a blessing from our sister here, because she knows how to love. And that is, this woman knows how to love. And so her empathic heart is teaching others. I really, just even by your example, by watching you, how to dig deeper into empathy and compassion.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions for me, feel free to inbox me.
Drop us a line here in the video, because this replay. So if there's any questions, I do check the feed. I come back and I check the feed to see who's dropped information, or questions or comments. I do go back and I read them. And so
is it going well, Mom?
Yes, it is. That's beautiful.
Babe.
Oh, that beautiful boy. Oh, he's so beautiful. So I will let you return to mommy duties, but thank you for joining us this evening.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Love you.
All right.
So much.
Love you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.